the blight ordinance and then go from there. Go ahead. Or would you rather someone else speak and then you go?
If somebody else wants to speak, I mean.
Is there anybody else who would like to have a comment or address this issue? Okay, well, I guess you're back up.
All right. We've been recently in the newspaper for Fort Street.
Right.
Can you please explain, without giving away, personal information, what the process was that the city went through, what the findings were, and in your opinion, was it handled correctly?
Much of it occurred prior to my tenure as chief, and by no means am I deflecting that on to anyone else. Looking at it in its totality, it was handled appropriately. It was on multiple occasions. I personally sent the blight officer out to discuss it with the individual in question. I met with the individual in question. There was discussion of rat infestation. I can't speak for another agency, but Ledge Light Health District looked into the incident in question, and there would be enlightening information for the council there. Secondarily, I would say to you, again, bleeding from previous experience and other service, and from 2017, late 2016 into really early 2018, the Northeast as a whole had an unprecedented problem with Norway rats, just about anywhere you went. Got to the point the agency, meaning the police department, we actually put a warning out, and I know other municipalities did, with bird feeders, where everyone used to have squirrels that would get into it. We were having rats getting into it, and they were Norway rats. The city of Groton did not have the level that some other communities did, but we addressed the issues and we were honest about it and we dealt with it. There were some communities, not here, it didn't happen here, and I can tell you it did. We had it in Stonington and in Pawcatuck. I dealt with it when I was acting first selectman. We brought Ledge Light in, we did a community canvass, and we had a significant problem, and it almost got away from us, and we took care of it. The situation will alleviate itself with the proper steps towards sanitation, etc. And it relatively did. Unless it becomes river rats, which we could run into on the Thames River at any time, and that's a very difficult species of animal to deal with. They're very intelligent. They are a nightmare when they get into an area. We're very fortunate it was Norway rats we dealt with.
We do not have river rats in the city. We do not have river rats. That
we
was
don't
not
have
the
a river
problems.
rat problem.
Okay.
No, trust me, there's river rats.
Well,
anywhere
but
you go,
that
they
wasn't
exist.
the problem. Okay.
We don't have a problem, but
Okay.
trust me, they exist. And,
These were Norway greys.
yeah, this is in Norway. It was a different species, and it got to the point in both capacities I served in. I was on the phone with New York City Sanitation. They're the world experts in dealing with it, and they were very, very helpful. And I found out more about rats than I ever want to know about, quite frankly. But that's what we dealt with, and I think if you look at the Ledge Light report, you'll see it in the actual newspaper article. I spoke to the reporter in question, and the person involved spoke very highly of our blight officer, Glenn Frischman. Glenn was out very attentive and worked real hard on the issue, and he did. It's an unfortunate circumstance. Nobody wants to wake up and deal with rats. I went out to the house right away because I know people, particularly the individual in question, keeps an incredibly clean household, and to have to deal with that, it's got to be a traumatic incident, and you go out and deal with it. We brought the appropriate resources in to deal with the issue.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
The bottom line on this is that the city followed the blight ordinance and the proper procedure for addressing the issue. The immediate area was evaluated, the surrounding areas were evaluated, and the areas that were presumed to be the cause of the rat problem were not the cause of the problem. The problem occurred because of a food source on the property. And the food source were dropped apples from an apple tree that were not collected, and bird feeders that had scattered feed on the ground. There was an issue last year in 2017. There is a email from Ledge Light that addresses it, states very clearly where the problem was. Earlier this year, and also at the same time, there were issues with dead rats. The reason that there were dead rats on the property is because an exterminator had been hired and had put out bait traps. So when the rats go eat the bait, the poison gets into the system, and then when it reaches a lethal level, the rat drops where it is and dies, and sometimes that's in the middle of your yard. And that's what happened. Earlier this year, there were some pictures, or a picture was sent of a rat, and we immediately dispatched, and that was under the previous blight officer, under Dale Grensteiner, back in 2017. When the picture was sent to me, I sent it to the chief, contacted the chief and said, we need to get the blight officer on it, contacted the resident, told the resident that we would get the blight officer on it. The baits were still there. So if the baits are still there, the rats are still going to see that as a food source, they're still going to eat. We did an evaluation, and there was no evidence of rats either through trails, burrows, or rat droppings anywhere in the adjacent property to where the individual thought that was coming from. And an investigation of the trash cans, actually, there was a picture of trash bags that were sent to me and put on a Facebook page. I personally went up and looked at the bags. The bags were, when a resident had moved, they just emptied and threw stuff in the trash. There was no evidence of foodstuffs. There was no rat droppings there. The bags were not opened or clawed. I talked to the chief. He sent somebody up to take a look at it. We talked to the landlord, and eventually those bags were taken away. But that was not the source of the rat problem. So we went out of our way to try to identify the source. And again, the only source that I can identify, or that we have evidence of, is the source that where either somebody's putting baits out, which is attracting them, or bird feeders, or fruit from fruit trees as drops. So, and although Chief Spellman was contacted, the reporter never contacted the mayor's office to talk to the mayor's office about procedure, policy, or protocol that we follow or do not follow. So there was no input from the mayor's office in the newspaper article. Any other questions or comments regarding blight for Chief Spellman? Okay, moving on. Oh, wait.
Thank you.
No, do you have anything? Do you have anything else for communication report?
No.
Okay, Councilor Becker.
Nothing
Oh,
to-
I'm sorry. I do. I'm sorry.
Okay.
On October 3rd, I attended the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities meeting on how to run an effective or legal and effective meeting. And October 9th, I attended the Group 2 meeting with Councilor Carter and Councilor Sheffield.
Councilor Becker.
Nothing to report.
Excuse me, Councilor Sheffield.
Yeah, attended the Group 2, nothing to report on finance,
Okay.
and that's all.
Councilor Depot.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Carter. Deputy Mayor Garrett.
Nothing to report.
Okay, I have a request for a counselor. I need a counselor on the RFP selection committee for the Groton Heights Schools project. There are 2 proposals that have been submitted. When I talked to the planner, Dennis said that should only be a couple hours, with one or two, maybe 3 meetings at the most. He does not know if the meetings are during the day or in the afternoon, but we are looking for a volunteer because the town council, Councilor Heed, has offered up to be on the selection committee from the town council. So it'd be nice to have a representative from the city council. Councilor Depot.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what that would entail?
Yes. We've submitted our RFQs, RFPs, requests for quotes, proposals for what to do with the Groton Heights property. Yes, Groton Heights property. So what would happen is you will get both proposals so that you can review them. You will get the RFP so that you'll be briefed on the RFP on what they're looking for. You will then look at the proposals that are submitted, the two that are submitted, to see if they meet the requirements, and then they will bring them in one at a time and you'll interview them. And then based on the result, there's a grading process afterwards. So it tries to eliminate the subjectivity. And then one of those, if they both meet the requirements, then one of those would probably be selected to take the Groton Heights property. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Councilor Rusk.
I'd be interested in serving on that if available.
Okay, let me, I'll give Dennis your number so that they can contact you.
That's fine. I don't know if Councilor Depot's also interested.
You interested?
I am interested.
Okay, I'll get him to call both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Kirkpatrick, do you have,
I just have some communications that I've received from
Okay.
a couple of organizations.
Thank you.
As you know, for years, we were the host site for the Law Enforcement Council testing. And now that they have larger facilities up in Norwich, they're doing the testing there. But they just sent a card thanking us for everything that we have done and always being so accommodating.
Great.
I have something from the Nutmeg Volunteer Junior Ancient Fife and Drum Corps. I never knew that was their long name. Thanking us for the use of our facility for their, for the tables and chairs for their muster on September 1st. And that they're very, very thankful that they also have use of our building during the colder months for their rehearsals. And last but not least, a card from Steps with all the young ladies who have signed it thanking us for allowing them to use our building for their activities over the year.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, committee referrals, anyone? Okay, new business, Councilor Rusk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-18-10-106. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council accept and approve a grant award from the United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bulletproof Vest Partnership Program in the amount of $3,027.00, and that Mayor Keith Hedrick be authorized to execute said agreement. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Chief, would you like to address this? Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, sir.
Actually, how many vests would there be?
The entire department gets outfitted in a level 3A vest. They're on a rotational basis where certain officers will be up to get a new vest. But at all times, everyone has a current vest that is under a 3A grade, which will stop a substantial run coming forward, keeping the officers safe. The federal program that comes in allows us to outfit our people with that level of ballistic protection at no cost to the City of Groton taxpayer.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Depot?
I just wanted to just point out and remind people that every time you see a grant on any of our items, someone has sat down and applied for that and taken the time to research what we're eligible for, and I would just like to thank the chief that he always makes every effort to get grants for a lot of the stuff that we do in the police department.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. There is no executive session. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you.